It's just, magic damage really carries a lot of weight later in the game, especially if you can, buff it up with maybe spell shards, but especially grimoire by 30%, I believe it is, or is it only 25? So I have to check my numbers, but
Grimoire is 25%, I believe.
yeah, that amount of unavoidable burst damage, especially if you get like a staff or something, is really crazy. I mean, you're just wiping out a third of at least one hero's HP pool, of a farmed hero's HP pool.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely has something to be said for that ability alone. But like you said, whenever you have as great of a kit between the three basic abilities that Wretched Hag has, especially from a farming standpoint, this hero seems to always be successful in games, and we can see why it's actually banned against you guys quite a bit, because you are known to run it in your lineups and give
Yep.
it to. I think Sate is the only one that plays it on your team, but he does it
Well, that
well.
I can't tell you, but he plays it most of the
Ah,
time.
right. Okay. Sure.
Can't go giving away any secrets. But
Right.
I will say, side note, I really dislike this Bensington avatar.
Haven't even taken. Oh, okay. Yeah. This. What is it? The Ursa one.
Yeah. I don't know why, but on my screen I see his like stun cast range. I think it's like a bug or whatever in my interface, but
Well,
either
what I'm
way.
hearing is whenever this hero is on the screen, all I hear is squeaky shoes. So that's going to be
Mm-hmm.
enjoyable to listen to whenever the camera's on Bensington.
Oh yeah. Apex versus Lodestone. We have Puppet Soul versus Azov. That's gonna be fun down there in the bot lane. Azov, a very prominent Lodestone player. I think he played that one in the last series against Team Tim. Just a fantastic Lodestone player. I think we'll see a lot of good stuff from him this game. We talked about Fa playing Hag. He's going up against Anal Hunter on Monkey King. What do you think of Hag versus Monkey King matchup?
I think the advantage goes to Hag, hands down. That's just me, though. Maybe I'm not as skilled as a Monkey King. Well, I know I'm not a skilled Monkey King player. That's why I don't play the hero. But I think Hag just has a really good time against melees, and yeah, Monkey King can be
Oh,
aggressive.
Bensington takes a rotten grass. Does he die here? He's got the apple. A couple more auto attacks needed. Now, meanwhile, not a lot of return pressure from Rift and Moira in comparison. So they're going to get the health potion there, I think, from Riftwalker. Rotten grass misses. They could look to maybe re-engage here once Bensington gets his HP bar up. But Glacius and Deadwood, with Shadowblade going into range for him, already putting out a lot of pressure on the Bensington specifically. Which tri-lane do you like up here in the top lane? Do you feel like it's even? Do you feel like one team has a clear advantage?
It's a good question. I think that the kill advantage is in favor of Bensington and Moira Riftwalker. I think that they just have slightly more burst potential, especially once Riftwalker gets a level or two. Is able to put additional, like a second point to Rift Burn plus Cascade event. But Shadowblade with the ranged form, especially with Rock Grasp, able to put in a lot of
They go into the tower with Bensington. They do get the Bloodlust. Great tower aggro coming in from Nede. Takes it off the Bensington. I was very worried for them. Now, Deadwood was gone, and I think that's the main reason we saw this tower dive, as that could have been disastrous for Doghouse, but these guys knew what was going on. They have a Rev Ward here catching the Deadwood out. Now, he's going to get the safety net out of the Ward of Revelation. Thinking about maybe going back in here. Throws a Rotten Grasp. Does hit on the Riftwalker. But Joust coming up in one more second. He has the Lunar Tier. One thing I wanted to point out to you, John, is that Bensington only has 2 creep kills up here in the top lane. Shadowblade 8 and 7, so he's not really touching the creeps.
Right. And Moira
getting caught here by a Grasp. Will this be enough damage for a kill? Oh, Bensington doesn't get hit by the Joust. Shadowblade blocks it. Nobody ends up dying, but that will conclude the engagement there.
Yeah, Bensington not having the best start, and he's had to pull out additional region to himself, so Doghouse ends up getting the Bloodlust, but still struggling in this top lane as Moira. I guess that's an intentional death.
Oh, he's gonna get stunned. He jousts away. I love Duder dying to Newts, by the way. He's one of the few players that actually consciously does this to just get back to the lane faster with full health and full mana.
Right, and that might be one of the reasons why he's a top-level player, or on a top-level team. Just making decisions like that regularly, but one of the things I'm noticing here is a pretty distinct creep advantage here in the bottom lane for Puppet Soul on Apex, so having a really good time against Lodestone.
Oh, Richard Hag and Monkey King gonna fight over bot rune. Oh, he dropped the... I love seeing this stuff. He dropped the Mark of the Novus, used power supply, was still 5 mana short for Blink. Monkey King got his bottle refreshed. And now Hag gets caught. He couldn't get the Blink off. And this matchup was going very well for Wretched Hag, John. He was 30-9 against a 13-0 Monkey King, but he gets the bottle refilled there and gets the kill. That's going to swing the lane back a bit into his favor. Now, we still have 360 GPM on the Hag versus the 300 of Monkey King, but the kill is going to be a huge impact there for him.
Yeah, he has the experience lead. That is major considering how far behind he was.
Armageddon comes up bottom lane. He just hit level 6 and he takes out the Lodestone. So yeah, you talked about bottom. He was winning in creep score. I'll throw a kill on top of that in the 1 versus 1.
Yeah, now over 400 GPM. That's very significant. Kind of curious to see what item he transitions into to try and assist his lane situation even further. Guess we'll find out in just a few seconds. Chalice and health potion. So yeah, Chalice makes a lot of sense.
Smoked up Deadwood here middle lane. Now I don't feel like they can kill the Wretched Hag straight up. I could be wrong, but
yeah, I think it would have to have taken a picture-perfect combo from Monkey King in order for that to happen.
Bats come out middle lane. Hag blinks into the tower. It gets the kill. I think Fa hit level 7 there. Maybe had the level 4 Sonar Scream 2. Big damage coming in from the Hag. And Fa says, I'm going to get payback for that prior kill, evening up the score there in mid lane. 1 kill apiece.
Chalice misses in the top lane.
Yep. Benzington could be in some trouble now. Riftburn does some good damage. It looks like Hellborn team's the ones that's in trouble. No more, no Shards of Arcanum. Can't say the name there. Was off cooldown for a couple more seconds. But 1-0 up in the top lane. They bring down the Shadowblade.
Yeah, so once upon a time, Shadowblade, having the better time here in the top lane. But Benzington now clearly dominating, almost 100 GPM ahead after that unfortunate demise of Shadowblade. And if this pace keeps up for Benzington, it's going to... He's going to be able to set up a kill. Probably, I would like to see
they're going to
him
go in. Oh, he misses the joust. Are they going to be able to counter kill him here? Rongrass comes out, connects on the Benzington. He might fall here. Mana Sunder causing problems for Shadowblade, though. And Riftwalker, he throws out the Riftburn, or not the Riftburn, the Shared Existence, the slow. Glacius goes down. Hasted Hag coming in for some assistance here. Gonna bait out a TP here. Shadowblade, he's calling for the ports, needs some help. Now he doesn't have his own TP on cooldown. Deuter is gonna actually spot him here, but will they go for a dive is the question. I think they might try. Bottom lane, both the strength heroes going at it once again. Lodestone dies to the DOT from the Armageddon and the Burning Ember. And they do take out Shadowblade. Fa came back up there on the Hag. They recognized that he had not TP'd out. Now Monkey King, he's thinking about maybe going in here. There's a couple of low targets. If he can pick the right one, maybe even get 2. Deadwood Grass catches Moira. They want the Hag, though. That's the big kill. There comes the Shards of Harkon. But there's the counter stun from Benzington. Do they have the burst? There's the bats, though. Take out the Monkey King. And look at how low all of the Doghouse players are, John. Can they pick some kills off here? Is Glacius coming in with the smoke? Benzington, can he get the freeze off from Glacius? Shadowblade takes out the Moira. But there's enough mana for a joust, and Slinky will survive. Meanwhile, Riftwalker goes for the TP. He's going to be successful. And now Fa, he's going to go for the blink in the trees. And it looks like everyone other than Moira survives. Wow. What a chaotic fight. It's so hard to keep track of what's going on with these two teams.
These escapes from the Doghouse players are just so narrow, but they worked out time and time again. And it just seems like after that showing, it just feels like they are dominating this game really sticking it to Daunova Brigada here in game 2.
What's going on top lane? That was just a Moira Forge almost catching out Deadwood. Illusion Rune on the Apex. Now he's got no Armageddon for 15 seconds. Moira, she's getting body blocked like crazy. She gets frozen by the Glacius. Benzington forced to do a defensive joust. Apex wants blood. He throws the taunt up. He's feeling very confident here. Shadowblade jumps in on the Benzington. There's the stun coming in from the Soul Sight. And that is why he's feeling so confident. Now Riftwalker also going to be in trouble. He goes down. And now he's porting. Where is he porting? Into the mid lane. There's a Monkey King going down to the bot lane. Shadowstorm, I think, came out. Might have been defensively.
Wow. Apex so close to killing Wretched Hag right there. A last second power supply by Hag is going to end up saving his life. It looked like Fall, or Puppet Soul rather, had that all but calculated.
Hail Gaming. I think he's referring to the supports having no boots. You know, I will say I played a game of Behemoth today. I think it was not casted, where I didn't have boots for like 15 minutes. That was not too fun.
Yeah.
Oh, can he steal the rune from Monkey? Oh, he cannot. Monkey got the Merrick's rune. Try to bait this though. We had Hag moving over.
So yeah, I mean, you know, Benzington looking to get level 6. What do you expect his first ulti to be? I'm thinking he's probably... I would like to see him somehow set it up on Monkey King or Apex once they kind of fan back out and go solo mode again. I'd like him to see him set something up with Hag or Lodestone as soon as he dings level 6.
Yeah, I think either target is good. If they can lock down Apex... Now, he has a haste rune, so that for the next minute and a half or so is going to be quite difficult, but... Monkey King, not having the greatest time, 250 JPM. We saw him still recover quite well last game when he had the slow start. Oh, he flips, blows some back into the tower, puts some good pressure on him. Top lane, we have Apex jumping in. No Armageddon for 10 seconds, but Moira going to fall here. Numbers advantage, 4 versus 3. The team support gets here. Rotten Grass hits on the Benzington. Now there is Armageddon. It hits onto 2. Will it be enough damage? Oh, the back is from Fa. And Apex with the haste rune cleans up. Benzington survives on 60 life, so good news there. But they did lose the Riftwalker and the Moira without a counter kill coming out in response.
And what does Apex go with 2,000 gold? Is this just a portal key? No, this is a
Nightfall,
light
bottom lane.
right?
It's
Okay,
a farm
just using it to farm, okay. But yeah, and we've got a light brand here on Apex, so, you know, going semi-carry on Apex, looking to complete a Dawnbringer this game, which makes a lot of sense, synergizes very well with the hero, already has the natural dot on auto attacks, and Shadowblade running for his life.
Oh, Azov wants this kill, but I don't think he has the range, unfortunately. Yeah, we could definitely see a Dawnbringer. Do you think a Grimoire of Power would be out of the question?
I suppose not. Seems like it could, you know, assist with that high cooldown
reduction
ultimate. Yeah, the high cooldown ulti, but
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, do you think of Apex? I guess you can think of Apex as kind of a bursty hero, so Grimoire of Power supplements that a bit, but yeah, I don't know. I haven't played enough Apex to really, you know, see a clear argument of one over the other, but I'm starting to see merits of both, I think.
Yeah, I think either one could make sense. The more I was thinking about it, Grimoire was making a lot of sense to me, but I have seen people go Dawnbringer on this hero. But the cooldown reduction, I think, would be on top of the spell damage, but the cooldown reduction 25%, making the ulti closer to like a minute and a half would be pretty nice.
And yeah, I mean, and he's just a great hero, having the double movement ability in his basic kit. So shorter cooldowns on both of those. Pretty nice.
Pop a Veiled Rod here, try to set up bottom lane. We might see TPs come in. Monkey King already rotating over. But they had a ward on the tier 2 tower. A really good ward from Dude. Spots out these rotations, and we see how Doghouse already fell back, recognizing the smoke coming out from the Apex.
Yeah, with the ward. And, you know, one thing that I like about seeing some of these pro players play, and you just saw it there with Puppet Soul. Just this willingness to give up on the gank attempt without much of a second thought. I mean, he saw the backup from Benzington right after he popped the smoke and just didn't even decide to, take a second thought about pushing forward, because I just burned smoke. I still have it for 20 more seconds. Nah, just switches to the creep wave immediately.
Ooh, Moira's respawning the Forge. Gonna get it broken immediately. A fight. Blinked away from the Armageddon. The bats come out solo on the Apex. Riftwalker taking heavy pressure here. Here comes a Nightfall, though. Who's he gonna go for with this Joust? Gonna go for Monkey King. That's a good target. Shards Archon comes out on the Benzington. Gonna stun up the Deadwood. He falls, and it's already a 2-kill start. So they also have that Ward of Revelation on the pillar. Now we see Hasted Lodestone channeling the Shadow Storm. He's gonna blink in. There's the headbutt. Can he get the rocket off? He does. He sacrifices himself. I don't know if that was worth it, John, but goes for the big play either way.
Probably not, but definitely
probably not worth it. But hey, he gets a kill.
I mean, that's a flex though, right on top of the 2-3 tower. I'm not gonna lie about that, but good response from Glacius, getting all the abilities off and punishing for the audacity.
We talked about last game. Sometimes it's just about sending a message.
But I actually,
by the way,
I actually feel like that's where some of these games actually get turned. Just kind of the mental game, feeling ahead. Doghouse is pretty commanding here in game 2. Seems like they've kind of just gotten the better of a lot of exchanges time and time again. Not to say that Daunova Brigada is out of it by any stripe, but you can just tell that Doghouse is feeling confident. And, that might make them play a little bit riskier, a little bit more confident, and could overstep their boundaries and then find themselves behind suddenly. So I really think that that's a major factor in a long-form game like Han.
Which team do you feel like has the better late game? I've been kind of toying with this idea in my head for a while now. I feel like you could have arguments for both sides having exceptional late game.
Yeah,
I think in terms of like raw damage power, Hellborn has like Shadowblade, which is the strongest carry I think in this game. But then you have Hag, which scales insane with the bats, and then they have the Shadow Storm. I don't know. I feel like it's really a toss-up.
It kind of is. It really comes down to something that probably is overstated in Han. Is it really comes down to execution. But as strong of a carry as Shadowblade is, I mean, he can just get deleted between Hag, Lodestone, and Benzington. Seriously can get deleted, and they have really, really great lockdown and control through Shrunken Head.
Even the wormhole scales pretty well in late game. The superior stun.
They always have Arcane Vortex to reset. So, yeah, this Legion Squadron is very balanced. I mean, every single hero on the lineup is bringing something major to the table. Whereas obviously every hero is doing something on the Hellborn side, but it just feels like, Deadwood, for instance, is kind of...
What's going on here? Shadowstorm catches Deadwood. They just continue to keep killing Deadwood. He's 0-5. Only level 5. Lodestone going to sacrifice himself. If anything, this is a space created as it forces a lot of people to move to mid lane. But a couple of things while we were talking that happened. I'm sure we got a couple of them on the camera. Deadwood died, I think it was bottom lane earlier, and Benzington also escaped in Armageddon top lane, where he nightfalled back to his fountain. So that's why we have Nightfall on cooldown currently, and Armageddon, and Deadwood has actually died twice in the span of, say, like a minute and a half while we were kind of discussing things.
Right. And I was kind of just thinking that, Deadwood is sort of this one-and-done hero. He's got a big cooldown that has a lot of potential for assisting with Shrunken Head heroes later in the game. Being a physical lockdown and high burst ulti, but the fact that it lacks AOE potential really kind of hurts from a team fight standpoint, rather. And that's what I kind of feel like Hellborn is missing, right? They're lacking Wombo. They're definitely out Womboed, but at the same time, Legion has very nice sustained as well. Maybe not quite as high because they are going against Monkey King and Shadowblade, but Hag and Bensington definitely bring a lot to the table in terms of sustained damage, especially if they're able to get that lead and farm, which they obviously have for the present moment.
So Deadwood was level 6 a minute ago. Somehow gained a lot of experience. He's higher level than Moira and Riftwalker all of a sudden. Maybe Legion team will look to invest in a tome themselves. I think they could probably put it on Riftwalker, get him level 11. Meanwhile, bottom lane, Fa gets a little bit too... Well, they did take out the Monkey King. Maybe that's a trade that they are happy with. Now, it did trade over Fa's legendary streak, and he was the top farmer, or still is the top farmer in the game, so... Does feed a chunk of gold over to Apex.
It's kind of what I'm talking about.
Portal key picked up on top of his light brand.
That's what I mean whenever I see, you got Asaf and Fa diving in very, very aggressive positions all by themselves. And, it could just be due to the fact that they're just feeling it, They're kind of in the zone, feel like they're in control of the game, but these little mistakes might be enough to let Daunova Brigada get back into it, so...
Kensington's been pretty quiet this game, I feel like.
Ever since he got the Thunderclaw, I haven't really seen him do much, and obviously there's a reason for that. He's able to farm creeps pretty efficiently at this point, so just content to do so while an opening presents itself on the other side of the map.
Peter finds the ward mid lane. He takes that out with his forge as he had the Rev Ward on the downhill. Monkey King doing Ancient Stack. Hasn't really built into any big item yet. Goes for Knuckles and Sackstone, so a lot of build up. But pretty quiet game for him as well. He's got the 1-4 stat line. He had picked up that Hag kill early on. But not really taking off per se. What do you think we'll see Monkey King go for this game? Last game he was playing that more position 1 role, right? I think it's safe to say this game he's now kind of taking the backseat to Shadowblade. Like more of that position 2 spot. Maybe we'll see some different item builds come out, or...
I fully expect him to see him still go a defensive route, but maybe slightly different defensive items. Maybe something like a barrier idol could be in order. Could go like a Soul's Bulwark route to try and give a little bit of damage boost to himself, but obviously to his teammates as well. So he went like last game he went for, and he needs to watch out. Lodestone's very close, but he went for Shrunken Head and Nullstone, which are obviously defensive items, but show a lot of concern for himself, for him to be able to persist.
And Deadwood, he's getting in a position here. See if he lines up a Grasp here. Now we have Riftwalker kind of baiting this. Oh, he misses the Joust though. Oh, no, they don't see him, so he didn't channel the Wormhole in time. Meanwhile, mid lane, now we have the Nightfall coming in. Shatterstorm hits. They take out the Shadowblade and the Glacius. Apex counters with an Armageddon, takes out the Lodestone. A big 2-man Joust comes in from the Bensington. They take out Apex. There's the Arcane Vortex resetting the fight. And look at who comes out of that Arcane Vortex. We see Monkey King. He also falls. So, big fight again for Doghouse as they set up in the mid lane there. But that started off with top lane kind of whiffing a little bit. Back and forth. 4 for 1. A Lodestone, I think, pretty happy with sacrificing himself there.
Absolutely. And like I said before, he's got the only item that he really needs to function in the game. But, if I were him, well, if you were him, I'll pose the question to you. What would you be looking to create as your next item pickup?
On the Lodestone?
Yes.
Codex.
Codex? Okay.
Let's go. Let's go, Azaf. Pick up the Codex. I know Azaf loves to do that. Nah, he's going to go the mobility route. He just says, nope, ain't doing it this game. Goes for the post haste. I think it fits the game plan, though. They have been doing a lot of this like split pushing. And he's going to continue to just be very annoying, push out the waves, and then just sit in fog nonstop. So I think with what they're looking to do, this makes a lot of sense. It's always going to keep... it's going to be in the back of the minds of the Hellborn players. Like, oh, there's a post-haste Lodestone. We have to keep an eye out for. And this is something Zane, who is another very notorious Lodestone player, loves to do. So it just makes a lot of sense.
And in my eyes, I view post ace as a farming item, not just because you're able to port across the map to clean up these deeply pushed creep waves, but getting that
whole bottom lane. They're gonna catch Monkey King. Do they have the burst though? I think they do. Shadow Storm not even gonna be needed as Benzington came in. I believe that was the Nightfall usage there. That was the joust up. But they do get the Kongor kill. Look at Apex just regen with the Burning Ember. On top of that Kongor regen, he's back up to full all of a sudden. In a matter of seconds. You see the first Kongor of the game going to Hellborn.
Big pickup on Moira. Picks up the portal key. So also, another portal key hero. Kind of the only thing that she needs to reach maximum effectiveness. But yeah, what I was going to comment on about with post ace is, every single time you port and you don't have to buy one, gold saved, gold made.
Yep, that's true. You save a lot of 50s throughout the game. Benzington, 4,000 gold. Znicki, he's saving up, trying to think about what he needs here. So I'm going to pose the question to you. What do you think he needs as his next follow-up to the Thunderclaw?
That's a good question. Well, question answered. Shrunken Head, which, honestly, I mean, it makes sense. You don't want to have to deal with the damage from Glacial Downpour, Glacius's abilities on top of Apex's ulti, but they
feel like he could have gotten away with something like a Geobane before the Shrunken.
Yeah.
I know that would have been a little bit greedier, but at the same time, there's heroes like Deadwood and Monkey King that could kind of disrupt him in fights. Shadowblade still right-clicks him down. It will be very good against the Mana Combustion from Shadowblade, Snowfire Blade. And against Apex specifically, like it's got great usages. I do think he needs one at some point this game. I'm just trying to think to myself, could he have gotten away with a little bit of a greedier route?
It makes you wonder.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of going Geosbane if you're kind of not sure how defensive you need to be. I really like Geosbane as a item pickup because it just offers both, and you find yourself in both situations where you feel like you need to be defensive. But also
Vortex bottom lane. Here comes the Nightfall. They're gonna burst down the Deadwood. Meanwhile, Monkey King doesn't get his TP stopped here. Sun didn't have the rocket drill, and no stopper on the Hag. But yeah, continue that thought.
Oh, I just like that, Geosbane assists you to both ends, and you're going to find yourself in both situations. Situations where you need to be defensive and situations where you need a little bit of a damage burst or push potential or whatever. And Geosbane just offers all of that, maybe to a lesser extent for a more specialized item, but the fact that it's just so versatile is certainly a strength.
Even something like picking up just the Firebrand part into the Shrunken, you get the Shrunken a little bit slower, but you increase your farming speed by quite a lot. You can be more, around the map a little bit quicker. Bottom lane, Armageddon came out, but this was a bait coming out, it looks like, from the Doghouse. They're gonna get a couple of kills here. Wretched Hag sacrifices herself. She does pick up the hat trick though before dying, and they do only lose her in this fight. Came at a cost of Apex, Deadwood, and Monkey King.
Yeah,
so
one hell of a
maybe you caught the beginning
honestly.
of that because I was actually not watching.
I didn't catch the very beginning, but what I do know is that it looked like Apex and Monkey King went in pretty hard on Wretched Hag, and she just got the right positioning after getting tossed around by Monkey King and just popped the Grimoire and the Bat Blast and just evaporated both of those heroes almost instantly. They finally took her out with the Glacial Downpour and the other three heroes showing up, but yeah, she just did some work. Turning a bad situation into a favorable one.
The Wretched Hag, she also, like the Benzington, goes for the early Shrunken Head. Say early, we're entering around 30 minutes now. It's not necessarily early, but he goes the defensive route. I think for good reason.
Yeah,
Safe
I would
to
say
you think we'll see the staff picked up, but we haven't seen the staff come out yet from Wretched Hag.
I think it just makes too much sense, especially after you go Grimoire
or something.
Yeah, maybe not. You don't necessarily have to have the resto. Staff
stable
sheep
item
or something.
into resto stone last item. Yeah, think we're gonna see staff next item though from Fa. I would be surprised if he maybe feels he needs something like a Hellflower Sheep first.
It's just too good with the current setup, right? Whenever you have Bat Blast, as long of a cooldown as it is, and you're already buffing its damage output with the Grimoire activation, it just makes so much sense.
Nice all bottom lane. Now there's a Shrunken up on the Apex. They don't have a stopper to the Shrunken TP. Moira's gonna catch the Deadwood here with the Shards of Harkon. Can the team support get there in time? Hagbling's forward, gets the haunt. This should be a dead Deadwood. That's a dead. A lot of dead in one sentence. Meanwhile, though, it does buy space for Shadowblade to take the tier 1 tower. Pretty important tower for them to finally get down.
Right, and he quietly, finishes a Shrunken Head here after his fully upgraded Nullfire Blade. So, kind of in a carry positions. And his next item that he pushes for probably either a Geosbane or a Wingbow, if I had to guess.
Apex gonna go in. There's the Armageddon. Shrunken gets used by Bensington. Lowstone taking a freeze from Glacius in the tower. Now they're gonna trade the Monkey King for the Lowstone. Bensington getting a lot of tower pressure on him. Hag blinks into the base though. Was that a good decision from Fa? Or will he die? He does sacrifice himself. He gets the Shadowblade kill, picks up the double tap. As we saw buyback there from the Monkey King. And the fight is not done just yet. We had a buyback from the Lodestone, reports back in with the pose as they take out the Apex. Moira also falling. I don't know who won this fight, John. You gotta tell me, because we had a couple of buybacks from both sides. I think it was one buyback apiece. So I think it was a 3-for-3 plus a buyback. Maybe it was kind of even in the end.
I would say, nah, I think it's pretty heavily sided in favor of Doghouse. I mean, they only lost the one core. Lodestone, obviously, nobody wants to die, but Lodestone doesn't really need to survive in these big encounters anymore. He can basically, he has a full willingness, I would imagine, to sacrifice himself for the greater good. They really only lost Wretched Hag. They obviously commit the buyback from Lodestone, but, the only mistake I saw is Hag being really aggressive. He ended up getting Shadowblade in the end, but they take out Monkey King. They go buyback for buyback.
Top lane. Rottengrass catches him. Does he have Willowmaker? He does. Doesn't want to use it, though. They didn't need it. They had plenty of damage there.
A little bit of a dieback. Not a dieback per se, but he does die after buying back. But, they go buyback for buyback. Monkey King ends up dying as well. But they basically got all 3 cores at the cost of 1. And that's why I say it was pretty heavily favored for Doghouse.
Bottom lane, Joust misses. There's a Shrunken Head on Apex. I think they're trying to force it out. Wormhole! Looks like he canceled it in the end. Wasn't going to hit.
So there is the finished Geosbane on Bensington as well. So we mentioned it. Just comes after the Shrunken Head. So nice little pickup. And
we're in the top lane now.
I expect him to go for a Wingbow now after this item setup that he currently has. Just going to be really good against Shadowblade and extra armor to help ward off a Deadwood punch and all that good stuff. So, plus, I mean, you love seeing Bensington as a ranged hero once he picks up Wingbow.
I would love to see Hag. We talked about Hag going for a staff. He's got 40. He's almost got enough gold here. He could sell the chalice or the bottle. And then what if Hag upgrades the Bensington? I think that'd be fantastic with the Wingbow we talked about.
Yeah, it's actually absurd range at that point, right? Let's do a little calculation.
It's like around, I think it's around 700, because melees now get 75 range from Wingbow, whereas range shows get 150, so he gets a little bit. And then with the staff, if he gets the staff upgraded to him, he gets an extra 250. So he turns into
725, I think.
I think it's 725 with Wingbow plus staff. Now that's a long ways away. That's the ultimate range that he can achieve, but when he gets to that point, it's scary getting hit by a 750 range, and then the Lancelong becomes, I think, 1,000 range or something.
Right, because it gives extra range on activation, plus it reduces the cooldown drastically, right? To
I'm
5 seconds
you, man,
from 14.
I've died to this thing, like, it felt like from the others, like from my second monitor, I feel like I was dying. We both know that that's not possible, so. It's some gnarly range when you get Wingbow plus staff given to you.
Right.
The Fa just bought out an item. Didn't see what it was, but we'll see here any second now. It was a demonic breastplate. Okay. Not what we were thinking.
Right, yeah.
What do you think of the demonic pickup from Fall? He feels like he needs armor. Team armor.
I mean, I don't hate it, obviously. I always love team-centric items. Demonic is one of the best.
Double rotten grass, by the way, catches Benzington and Lodestone. Lodestone goes in, misses the rocket drill. Hag, I don't even think the bats hit anything. That was not the best placement from Fa. They're gonna lose the Lodestone here as the Arcane Vortex. I don't even know who's in that. It was the Apex. They stopped the Armageddon from coming out. It comes out late. And now, can Doghouse clean up this fight as they've already taken out Monkey King and Glacius? Benzington, he's trying to hold his ground. He's gonna fall there. They do lose Wretched Hag as well. And Shadowblade, he does fall in the end, but he does pick up a double tap, so he makes some noise before falling. And Moira falls as well. I don't know about this fight from Doghouse, John. It looks like some things just didn't quite line up there, but at the same time, you got to give credit to Daunova. They started that off with a two-man Rotten Grasp. Either side won this fight?
Oh, I mean, that's heavily favored for Daunova. I mean, just the fact that Apex was able to live and, push himself closer to 500 GPM. He's going to be a pretty hefty semi-carry for us. He's got a fantastic setup with the Arcane Bomb, which, this is something I learned fairly recently, how well this item...
the Ember, the burning Ember.
Just synergizes extremely well.
Get a 5-man Armageddon if possible. Yep.
Because the radius on the Arcane Bomb is just insane. Radius and cast range, so it's really a nice addition to his kit. And it's actually one of those items where, even though it only costs like 1900 gold, it's definitely a 6-slot worthy item on the hero. I think maybe only replaced by Frostfield.
Yeah,
but
I think for early and mid game it's fine. He'll probably want to replace that later if we go to like the 1 hour mark. But he did just finish the Grimoire. I have to feel like we're gonna see a Resto Stone coming out soon on Apex. Do you think he'd value maybe a Disable over the Resto, or is Resto just... To me, it just feels like that item is so big for a hero like Apex, where he gets the double Armageddon.
It certainly does, and obviously, to reach maximum effectiveness, he's going to have to play around the Shrunken Head cooldowns of Benzington and Wretched Hag, but it's definitely going to do a lot of work for assisting with the supporting cast. I mean, I think that Riftwalker is going to have a hard time getting an ulti in the presence of a Resto Stone Apex, which is a boon for the Hellborn side. I mean, it's a major teamfight ultimate that they could potentially avoid with that Apex item. So
great wards, by the way, coming out from Juder. We have one on the pillar here below the Ancients, and then one to the right of this Ancient camp stack, giving great vision. You can tell Doghouse really prioritizing vision of this Kong. They want to try to get a double Kongor, starting off with taking Daunova's Kongor first, and they're going to be successful. And I feel like, was Daunova in a position where they couldn't take this fight, or was it just simply due to them having the superior high ground vision?
I think it's just, it's almost impossible to fight it into uphill, right? Especially against heroes like that. You don't really know where the enemy is coming. I mean, you know about where they're positioned, but you don't know exactly. So, you clump up two of the heroes.
He's just getting caught here in the jungle. He's buying a lot of time. They do bring him down. They're thinking about maybe going for more. Oh, they guess on the Vortex there to try to stop some TPs, but as we could see there, it was a whiff. Good attempt, though. I always like the attempts. Could have been a big catch. But, before this kill on the Glacius, we were looking at like a 10,000 gold lead from Legion. I don't know about you, John, but to me, it almost doesn't necessarily feel like a 10,000 lead. This game almost feels maybe more even than the stats suggest. I don't know if you feel the same way. I'd be perfectly fine with if you disagree with me, but maybe it's because Hellborn has this Apex that's doing really well on top of what I feel like they have the stronger late game carry. I don't know if they necessarily, we've had this debate all game, who has the better late game and all, but Shadowblade could get to that point where he's scary if give him enough time.
Yeah, I mean, that's really all he needs, and they have a decent high ground. Actually, now that I look at their lineup, I actually don't really like their high ground defense on the Hellborn side at all. I feel like, I I feel like Doghouse really needs to stage a successful siege, especially now that they have a token. You know, don't rush into it. They like to be really aggressive, flex their stuff, but I feel like they've gotten themselves into situations where they've overextended, and I don't want to see that anymore. I want to see them break a tier 3 tower.
Apex going deep for this Moira. Uses Armageddon here. That's a 90-second cooldown. He's going to go for the Shrunken TP here. There's the bats. It's not nearly enough damage, even with the Grimoire. They decided to put the token on Hag. I don't know if we discussed this. Wormhole, it's going to miss on the Glacius. Sandscepter catches him, though. If anything gets him in range to catch him. Did they overextend, though? Riftwalker is going to go down. Wretched Hag, she's taking some Spellser with the token. Decides to blink on out for now. Glowstone Nut in the area. Got another blink coming up. 3.8 second blink with Grimoire. Hag is just so evasive when she has this item.
Yeah, that's actually very wild. Well, actually, I think the tooltip is
burn the token here. Monkey King catches her out. Now, her team is nowhere near her. She has the demonic in positive form, but no Willowmaker for 30 seconds. Here's a Sheepstick, by the way. That just got picked up from Lodestone, I think, a second ago. And Apex gets hit with a blast there. He gets up to the high ground as Benzington, he's trying to pick a target here. He's going to choose Shadowblade, who doesn't have Shrunken, but he does have his Geobane. Now the team support for Daunova is making their way here. Benzington, he's got the haste rune. You can tell he kind of wants to go back in. Moira's trying to deter them in the background from maybe following up. Benzington, he hits the Joust here on the Apex. Isn't enough damage. There's the dust. Big heads up dust coming out from Snooki. And he gets the kill onto Apex. Love to see character players holding dust.
That fight at the bottom lane, by the way, I just want to comment on the fact that Hag would have had his ulti up again after using it in the mid lane on Apex who escaped. Would have had his ulti up again in that situation in the bottom lane.
Willowmaker comes out on Wretched Hag. She pops the Shrunken. Look at the heal coming in from the Grimoire. She's almost back up to 3/4 life. Or about half life, rather. They kill the Deadwood there. Force the first buyback out from Puppet Soul on the Apex. There's the Armageddon, though. Moira Arcane Vortex holding Shadowblade in place with the Shrunken. Shadowstorm blows up. Moira's the first one to fall here. Benzington with the Wingbow. He's trying to pick a target. He's going to find Shadowblade now. Shrunken had worn off, and Janko falls. Doesn't have a buyback. That's not a good sign for Daunova as Glacius gets hit with a Rocket Drill Stun. We have a Sheepstick up, though. Will he be able to get in range? He should. He's going to go for the sheep here. This is the follow-up damage here. They have a Hellflower still on Fall. He just picked up a Hellflower. Here comes the Nightfall. Hits onto all three. He's going for the Apex. They do take out the Monkey King. And that could be a Rax, John. Buyback, second and final from Monkey King.
Yeah, this might actually be 2 Raxes, because they sense that Apex and Shadowblade are not going to have a buyback, so with that lead, Hellflower picked up on Wretched Hag, by the way. Very nice item pickup.
Links in, Hellflower's the Glacius with Shrunken on. Another kill. Meanwhile, Sheepstick comes out on the Monkey King. Shatterstorm hits, there's the head smash, and Monkey King is staying dead for 85 seconds. Not a lot of good signs here in Game 2 for Daunova. 25,000 lead all of a sudden for Doghouse. A couple minutes ago, this was a much different game, but some very well-coordinated fights, I would say, from Doghouse.
Oh, yeah, I think that this is an open and shut game. You know, you never like to call it too early, but with these tier 4 towers breaking, fully exposed shrine here in a second.
He's almost dying to the tower. Arcane Vortex a little bit slow there. Shadowblade pops the Shrunken here. Wormhole is gonna hit. It stuns him up through the Shrunken. There's the bats. Deals some good damage, but big picture, Sacrificial Shrine has fallen. We all know what that means. Game has concluded. Game 2 goes to Doghouse and the series as they sweep Daunova Brigada here, 2 games to nothing. Final thoughts on Game 2?